ahead and I am going to introduce Melody Watts, and then she is going to speak to us for 10, maybe 15 minutes on how she got involved with getting doTERRA into chiropractors' offices. And in fact, Melody is a presidential diamond with doTERRA. I enrolled her about 7 years ago. And she immediately started to work with chiropractors. And I will tell you that out of a company of about 5 to 6 million people, Melody is the best at approaching and working with chiropractors for not being a chiropractor herself. She's absolutely incredible on it. And most of her frontline qualifiers are chiropractors, some who have decided to step away from practicing as a chiropractor and decided to do the doTERRA business because they've been so successful with it. And so I wanted to invite her on this evening to share some of her secrets and what she's doing because she's incredible at it. So Melody, you have until about 6:15 Mountain Time. And then I'm going to turn it over. And then as soon as you're done, I'll go ahead and introduce, we have 5 chiropractors on that I'm excited to introduce you to who are going to answer some questions for us that I've submitted to them. And I'll just go through and ask them and they can answer. But Melody, I am so excited to listen to you. So did I unmute you? Yes, I did.
Yep.
Okay, take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Jen. I'm excited to talk to everybody about this particular topic. I absolutely love chiropractic. I think that's a big part of the reasons why I attract chiropractors because it's my favorite profession. I would have gone to chiropractic school had I not found doTERRA, to be honest. It's just something I'm really passionate about. So I think with recruiting in general, one of the things that people need to focus on is what they're passionate about, right? Because they're going to be drawn into what they're passionate about. And if they're passionate about chiropractic, then that's going to shine through, and chiropractors are going to be drawn to them because they believe in it. You know, I'm somebody that gets adjusted regularly. I see a chiropractor twice a week. I value it. I pay for it. My kids go, my whole family goes. And so when you are able to be a chiropractic person, they're much more likely to want to work with you. First of all, like I've talked to chiropractors before that they're like, yeah, my patient enrolled me years ago, and after she signed me up, she quit care, and I never saw her again. Like, these are the type of people chiropractors are not going to jump on with and want to go full board with. They want to relationship build. So the first key is understanding the profession and understanding that in general, chiropractic is very much mission and purpose driven. So, and when I talk about my top 5 strengths, when I talk about your 5 top strengths, it's really important that you identify what you're really good at and what you're really drawn to in recruiting in general, because one of my top strengths is belief. And so people that have belief in their top 5 are very mission driven. They're very purpose driven. And so I'm drawn to people that have the same mission, belief, and vision that I do. These are the types of people that I want to work with. So oftentimes people go, what's your secret with chiropractors? And it's basically like, I have that same vision and purpose and passion that they do. And what happens is cause always equals effect. So your deep belief and your root cause and your belief in something is going to equal the result, right? It's cause and effect. So the effects of your business are directly related to how rooted and how deeply you are in your vision and what your belief is in your purpose. And so I would say that that's the number one reason that draws chiropractic to me in general, because of those core values are the same. So when you're working with chiropractors, you've got to understand that they're looking for people that are purpose driven, that are passionate, and that are really knowledgeable. And so if you're going to them, like a lot of times chiropractors feel like a piece of meat, to be honest, with people that are trying to recruit them, because everyone is like, oh, I want to get in front of these chiropractic patients. I want to get in front of your patients. What can you do for me? You're going to build my business. Whereas the approach should always be, and what draws people to work with you is the approach should always be, how can I service you and how can I bring value to your patients? I actually had a chiropractor that I was working with that I met, and she told me that her focus was kids with mental focus and kids on the spectrum and these kind of things. And I immediately was so excited to let her know what I do. I said, oh my gosh, I was able to reverse my children's symptoms through chiropractic and also through natural solutions. I would love to talk to you about what I do and how I can bring this amazing information, to you so that you can add additional benefit to your patients. And what we ended up doing was we ended up doing a seminar together. And it was specifically on mental focus and behavior. And we talked about chiropractic, we talked about environment, we talked about food, and then we talked a little bit about oils. And at the end of the seminar, we invited people to become a patient of hers, first of all, and to second, come to an oils class so they could learn more about using natural solutions. So I got about 30 people in front of this chiropractor. That brought value to this chiropractor, right? So it's not just about, ooh, can I get my information in front of your people? It was like, hey, I want to bring my people to you because you offer so much value. So I created a lot of value for this chiropractor, and it made her want to work with me over the person that enrolled her 5 years ago, who she wasn't ordering anymore, and she'd never heard from again. She couldn't even remember what the person looked like. So that relationship building is really, really important in chiropractic. Now, talking a little bit about implementation. This is important because you have to realize from a chiropractic perspective, and a lot of the chiropractors will talk and speak to you as well on this, is they are approached by a lot of network marketing companies. They just are targeted. So if you're contacting them about doTERRA, you can bet that 20 other people are contacting them about their MLM, okay? And so you have to realize that your approach and your angle has to be different, and you have to bring value to them, and it has to be focused on their needs. So when I'm talking to a chiropractor, it's not about necessarily, hey, you could make an awesome business out of this. And, you know, some people go, oh, you get new patients out of this and that kind of thing, is you want to bring value and that kind of thing. But what it really has to do with, and when I'm approaching a chiropractor, is what are their immediate needs? Because a chiropractor will not bring a product to their patients if they don't love and use the product first, because again, they're mission oriented, they're belief oriented. So they're not going to just be like, oh yeah, that looks like a great moneymaker and a great trend, I'll jump on the bandwagon. They're not bandwagon type of people. They're purpose driven. So when I'm talking to a chiropractor, I will brand myself and let them know I not only work with chiropractors to teach them how to implement essential oils and natural solutions into practice, but I also love to help them with their personal and family use. Is there anything that you've been wanting to try essential oils for? And whatever their needs are, you know, everyone's got a health need. I just enrolled a chiropractor the other day that has this chronic cough, and we tried a few oils to help him with this cough, and it worked so quickly. He immediately was like, wow, that was an amazing experience. And so it's no different than sharing and inviting with anybody else that you want them to have a great product experience first. So I remember one chiropractor had a lot of pain from a torn tendon. And so we used Deep Blue, and he was like, wow, that got my inflammation down to the bone. And I was like, yeah. And you know, with chiropractors I work with, they use Deep Blue on the spine, and it makes it easier for them to adjust their patients because it reduces the inflammation in their soft tissue. So being able to offer value and have them have that personal experience, it's exactly the empowered success system. It's pipes, right? It's having that experience first with the chiropractor. When I'm reaching out to maybe some cold market people, chiropractors that I haven't met yet, or maybe I don't have a relationship with them yet, my first priority is to always relationship build, brand myself, and then offer them value. So oftentimes I will reach out to chiropractors and just say, hey, I'd love to send you a little gift package, a sampler package, if this is something you're open to trying. And so oftentimes I'll connect with people that way. But I can't reiterate enough how important it is to relationship build, because there are some chiropractors that I have been relationship building with for years that I haven't enrolled yet, that are really close, that are very influential people. And then I also have chiropractors that it took me a long time to relationship build, and it wasn't my main priority necessarily to just get them enrolled in chiropractic, right? Or into doTERRA, right? My main priority was to relationship build with like-minded people, because we're on a mission together. As you know, as chiropractors, I look at them as being mission-oriented and purpose-driven. And so it's not like I'm just like, ooh, who can I relationship with so I can enroll them? It's like I actually love connecting with chiropractors because they're like-minded. And I love seeing what they post on Facebook, and I love hearing their vision and what they're doing. And it's just something that I thrive at because I'm passionate about plant-based medicine, alternative medicine, and I'm also really into like environment stuff. So environmental toxins and activism. And so these are just some of the core values that these are my people, right? The people that I love to hang out with and be friends with, whether or not I enroll them or not. And what happens is, as you focus on the relationship and bringing value to people, that inevitably could turn into, if it's right for them, it will turn into that business relationship that you're looking for. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of insight into how I approach and what my mindset is, because I feel like with recruiting, mindset is key. And so I kind of talked about the whole time about what my mindset is, right? Because your mindset will reflect how you attract people into your life. A lot of the chiropractors that I work with, it was a 6 month to a year period before they enrolled with me in doTERRA, and now they're, of course, thriving and doing incredible things. And the reason why I have a lot of chiropractors on my team is not necessarily because I enroll a lot of chiropractors. It's because the ones that I've really built strong relationships with, they enroll all the chiropractors. Okay. So it's not like, when you look at all the chiropractors on my team, I've probably enrolled maybe 15, and they've enrolled all the other ones, So, that's a thing too, is I'm enrolling people that are purpose driven, that are passionate. And then of course I teach them, because I understand the chiropractic process, how to implement in a way that is not invasive to chiropractic, meaning chiropractic is their first priority. That is their, that's what they love doing. And I don't want to interfere with that chiropractic process by bringing in doTERRA. And so it's a very unique way that we implement to make it so their focus isn't taken off chiropractic until and unless they want it to be focused on something else. So I think really listening to their needs and waiting until they're ready, knowing what questions to ask, like Tiffany Peterson talks about, getting masterful at asking the right questions so that you know how to lead them to a process. And I'm curious to actually hear from some of my amazing qualifiers on this team, Dr. Martha and Dr. Jenny, because they're the chiropractors implementing into practice. Dr. Jared as well. These guys are successful chiropractors. I mean, they have run massive practices, and so they will be able to tell you more than anybody how they implement and how they made it authentic without it interfering or making it come across as unprofessional. Because a lot of chiropractors, they worry about that professionalism with network marketing. So how do you make it not feel like network marketing? And so I'm excited to hear from some of them. And then if you have more questions on how I get chiropractors to implement, I've got a quick, easy system on how I do that. So Jen, do you want me to talk about my 3-step system about how I implement, or do you want to get to that a little bit later?
Let me unmute myself first of all. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'll go ahead and ask some questions, and then I'll unmute you at the end. And if you'll talk about your 3-step system, that'll be perfect. So I'm going to start with, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce everybody. So I have, where are you? There you are, Melody. Okay. So I'm going to first start with Dr. Jared Oxendorf. And I asked his cute wife before I started, I was like, how do you say your last name? There's just a lot of H's and C's and S's, and I didn't know what to do, and I got a little nervous. So first of all, what I really want to thank all of these doctors for being on this evening, because I know that your time is so valuable, and I appreciate you sharing with us your knowledge. So what I'm going to do is, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us about how you became involved with doTERRA. Were you approached, and I messaged you guys everything. So were you approached because you were a chiropractor, or was it just something you kind of found on your own? I want to hear a story about how you got involved with doTERRA, and then what initially drew you into wanting to use the oils, and then what was like, you know what, yeah, I actually do want to do this as a business. So that's what I would love to hear. Dr. Jared first. Hang on. Jared, I'm going to mute you, and then I'm going to unmute you. Okay. There we go. So you should be unmuted now.
I'm ready to rock.
And then awesome. And then as soon as, and then we'll move on to the next chiropractor, and then I'll unmute all of you, and then you guys can answer whatever question you feel inclined to answer. So thank you, Dr. Jared.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. First of all, this is going to be an awesome night. I'm looking forward to everybody and how everybody kind of approaches everything differently. So like Melody said, I mean, it's absolutely incredible as far as what we can do as chiropractors and what we can do as service providers for our community and for the culture that we're building within our communities. I've been in practice for about 15 years now, and ran an amazing, successful practice down in Maple Grove, Minnesota. We sold our practice about 2 years ago, moved to Alexandria, Minnesota, and now are thriving as one of the largest, if not the largest practice in Alexandria, Minnesota, which is a town of like 11,000 people. So we're just absolutely doing amazing things in this community. And like Melody said, it's all about building culture, and that's what we are all about. And I think that every chiropractor that you hear from tonight, it's going to be about building culture. And in fact, we build culture around what we call our 5 essentials, or our 5 pillars of health. And we were enrolled initially for my sister, Kelsey. It's Englehart now, but it was Oxendorf at the time. So 5 years ago is when we got into doTERRA. We did not build or share or anything at that time. It was more about personal use, like, oh yeah, we'll try it, right? And so I did tons of research. I researched about 3 or 4 different other companies as well. I'm the guy that wants to make sure that we do everything the best. If we're going to do it, it's going to be the best not only for my family, it's going to be best for my patients as well. And so I did a ton of research. It took me about 6 months, maybe even a year before I actually even started with my sister with doTERRA. And then when we started full bore. We just bought the huge kit. And we're like, okay, we're going to try everything because I want to know everything about everything. And we just want to start implementing in our family and start kind of learning that way. So we were introduced 5 years ago from my sister. And then from just using it personally, we saw amazing things, transform with our health and the ability to get rid of, certain products. One of our main pillars is called, it's minimizing toxins in people's lives. So you have thoughts, traumas, and toxins that cause subluxation in people, that cause dis-ease or disease passages in people. And so doTERRA and essential oils fit amazingly well with our minimizing toxins in people's lives. And so that's kind of where it fit into me as far as with our culture and our mission that we were trying to build with our family. From there, not only just the results that we're seeing in our family, that's where I started to kind of just share with other patients. And I didn't go full bore in our office. The way that we started sharing it was with patients that actually weren't holding their adjustments. And we were seeing that they were starting to have more toxicity issues in their body that we wanted to get rid of so they could start holding their adjustment and ultimately let that, obviously that power that's inside of us heal and take over. And so we were removing the physical traumas. Now is about removing the toxic traumas and allowing that body just to heal full circle. And then once we started seeing our patients get amazing results, the ones that we kind of started with, that's when we started implementing into our practice. In Maple Grove, I wish I would have done a lot more. We really started building about 5 months ago is when we started building. 5-6 months ago is when we really started kind of just like jumping full in, and we've seen it just kind of take off from there. So in our current office now, we have a display shelf for doTERRA in our office where, again, like Melody said, she's absolutely correct. We do not want to lose the chiropractic portion. My office is grounded in the chiropractic principle. It's about the adjustment first. You can't live without your nervous system. So how do we build that nervous system the best we possibly can? How do we stimulate that nervous system to get you out of fight or flight so your body can actually rest, digest, and heal like it's supposed to? And so that's where we put it on a shelf. We wait for patients actually to come to us, unless it's at one of our events that we hold specifically on essential oils, as far as our 101 classes, our more specific classes that we'll hold around a certain topic or a certain subject, where patients know that, hey, we're going to also talk a lot about essential oils at this class as well. And so it's almost like it's a light sale that we do in our office as far as how patients come to us. They ask about it. Hey, can essential oils work for this, or can they work for that? And we're starting to see our patients get rid of things like Tylenol and the Advil and the opioids and all those amazing incredible things that are causing damage and disease in our bodies. And so it's now starting to come into fruition where we're starting to see it really start taking off in our practice as well. And again, it won't be our primary focus in my particular office. It's always going to be about chiropractic, but it's one of those ways to remove toxins, to really help people remove the subluxation basically by the thoughts, traumas, and the toxins. And so it's one of the pillars that we utilize incredibly well now, and we're going to continue to implement more and more subject matter on that, whether it's around just specific sitting down and talking with the patient about their specific needs. And Melody is absolutely right. It's like, what is the need of our patient? It's not about me. We never got involved with doTERRA we got involved to help our family and help our family, kind of excel. But it wasn't about, what is it going to do for me personally as far as financially or whatever. It's like, how is this going to help my patient? How is it going to help them get better? How is it going to help them overcome where they're at in their life? And ultimately, how can we just get them to the better place that they want for their future, as around their goal setting and everything else? And so we just see it filling that need or filling that void in that patient's life to really remove a lot of those toxins in their lives and ultimately just watch the health flourish in their bodies. So it's been great. We've loved it, and we've seen amazing things so far, and it's building in our community. So it's awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Now, do you like to go by Dr. Oxendorf or Dr. Jared?
Dr. J.
Because people probably see it now. I think half my docs on here tonight are Dr. J. So
yeah, it's all good.
If I said Dr.
Way
J,
easier than Dr. Oxendorf. Yeah, it's way
awesome.
easier than Dr. Oxendorf.
I know. Although I am so proud that I learned how to say her last name tonight. I am like, yes.
Kudos.
Anyway, thank you so much. That was a pleasure hearing from you, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say when I'd ask a few more of my questions. But that was very insightful. And, you know, even when I met you, what was it, almost a month ago in McCall, I'm like, this guy is on the ball. I can tell he is an incredible chiropractor, and I was excited to have you on tonight.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so now I am going to go to Dr. Jenny Keys. So Dr. Jenny Keys is a diamond, and she is, hang on a second. I think I muted the wrong person. Okay.
I don't have any kids, so if you hear kids.
I screwed it up. Hang on a second. I'm going to mute you again. Okay, so now that she's quiet. So Dr. Jenny, Jenny, you're going to have to tell me what island you're on, but you're in the Virgin Islands somewhere, right?
Yes, I'm on St. Martin, sorry, not St. Martin, St. Thomas.
St. Thomas. Well, she doesn't know where she lives either, so we're good, right?
I just enrolled someone on St. Martin, so I have St. Martin on the brain. I'm like,
So Dr. Jenny has been, and you'll have to introduce us to yourself, but yeah, I want to hear about how you were introduced to the oils and what, how you've started implementing them to your business. You've been very successful with doTERRA. You're a diamond. Diamonds, just so everyone on the call knows, diamonds average about $17,000 a month, just from doTERRA income. So she's been very successful with this. So Jenny, Dr. Jenny, why don't you go ahead and just tell us about you so we can learn more about you.
Well, I'm going to try to really paraphrase it because my story is kind of long, and I was one of Melody's, I think first people. I think Dr. Martha enrolled just after me or just right before me, one of her first chiropractors. And then I know that Sherry had enrolled or Dr. Axe had enrolled just after me, because I remember Melody talking about it, like, oh, I've got this awesome chiropractor. So I met Melody, she enrolled me, and I was at a training event in Boise, Idaho, where she lived at the time, was ready to take on my first job as a chiropractor, right? I was not going to open up my own office, but be an associate. And with everything that comes with that, the nervousness, moving to a new place, doing all this new things, and was having actually some doubts about being a chiropractor, some doubts with myself that I could do it, and just based on kind of what I learned in school, some doubts about the profession as well. And so we had this little drill that we were doing, because it was a coaching seminar, right, in front of a lot of seasoned chiropractors. It's at the CDP Center in Boise, Idaho. And I was up front and kind of had a little bit of a mental breakdown and pretty much told a whole room full of chiropractors that I didn't know if I wanted to be a chiropractor. I just graduated because I didn't know if chiropractic worked. And Melanie said, wow, she's really authentic. That's someone who I want on my essential oil team. So she came up and chatted with me after I had my little breakdown that I had very publicly, which is very rare for me. And was chatting to me about emotional support, obviously, and some other things that she had obviously gone kind of through the 5 gates of sales with me, and was asking about my needs, just as what she told everyone right now, right? So she wasn't even thinking practice. She wasn't even thinking talking to your patients. She was like, wow, this chick needs some oils, obviously. And she gave me a couple tiny samples, made me buy an essential oils book. She was like, here, I've got this modern essentials book for sale. She was like, had just started doing the business. I want to say a couple months. Yeah, just a couple months. And I didn't see her again, except for she followed up like a fiend, because I went on to move to Las Vegas to my first job as an associate chiropractor. And she just followed up. Hey, via email as well. Back in the good old days when people checked their email. Hey, this is the promo for this month. Hey, this is the promo. And I sincerely felt like it was probably a mass email. I felt like she was writing it to me. So I would always be like, oh, I'd reply, I can't do it this month. I can't do it this month, right? Because I didn't have value for the oils yet, because I was a super poor, just student, now an associate, living on peanuts like associates do when they first start. And, but always in the back of my mind. And the samples that she gave me, I liked, but I didn't, and I think this is important to note, I didn't have an experience with, because come a strong enough one, because come to find out, I needed like a whole bottle of Claricalm, and I only had a little 1/4 dram, right? So I always liked them, but I didn't have that grabbing experience. And it wasn't until over a year later when I got super, super, super sick, did everything all natural that I knew at that time, and also even tried a little medical intervention that did not work, that I was like super hopeless. And what am I going to do? I was like, well, thinking about what resources do I have left? I had went through everyone except for Melody. And so I called her up. I still remember the day I enrolled. She was on a date with Walter, and I called her, and it was like, I think it was like New Year's Eve or something. And she's like, I'm on a date right now. Can we do this in a little bit? And I enrolled January 2nd. And it was the awesome start to a new year. And I was super, super, super sick with, I guess I can be kind of non-compliant, candida. I had a massive candida overgrowth. So I actually started doTERRA with the cleanse. Didn't even really mess with any of the oils. I did the cleanse and all the vitamins and things like that. Totally healed my body. Bought the cheap, this is so interesting, and this is a good lesson to learn. I bought the cheapest kit I could possibly get. I remember telling her on the phone, I really need all this stuff. Yeah, and this is back when the Cleanse and Restore kit, you guys, didn't even have as much stuff as it does now, and it still worked awesome for me. And she's like, yeah, you got to, just get these couple things and get these extra couple oils. And I was like, I don't have the money. I don't have this. I don't have that, whatever. I was kind of a stink. And don't ever ask me to sell this to anyone. I'm not going to do it. I'm just getting the wholesale account because, it's cheaper and I don't have any money, right? And I bought a diamond kit before the month was over without even talking to her. She was like, whoa, why don't we wait till February so you can actually get like points for all this you're ordering? Because she didn't explain anything to me because I was like, don't talk to me about it. So that's how I got into oils, essentially, was doing that. And then naturally started sharing with my patients because I had a lot of people come into me that said, I love chiropractic. This is helping me. And I don't want to take this XYZ for XYZ. Do you have something else? And it was just, I don't know if my senses were kind of heightened because I had been using oil. So then I was noticing people telling me that, but I swear I in 1 week had so many people asking me about oils. I was referring them to Melody. I said, where can they buy this stuff? People want this stuff from you. She's like, have them get them for you. And I'm like, what? What do you mean get them from me? She's like, you get a website back in the good old days when everyone was a wellness advocate. And so then I just kind of slowly started sharing. And yeah, that's the story. And here I am. Never wanted to do the business, ever.
That's awesome. Well, we sure are glad that you have done the business. Well, cool. Again, I'm excited. I have a whole list of questions, 6 of them to be exact. And I'm so excited to hear what you have to say as well. Oh. So we're going to move on to Dr. Jeanette. So if I say Dr. J, I think 3 people would be like, oh, I'm ready. So Dr. J from Nashville, Tennessee. And I'll get you unmuted. Okay, hang on. Unmute. All right. Dr. J, I think we have you unmuted.
Looks like it. Hello.
Perfect. Now you go by Dr. J. I've always called you Dr. J, right?
Yeah, it's even on my scrubs.
Okay, perfect. I was just thinking, am I calling you the wrong thing? And I spent a lot of time with you, so I'm glad that I haven't been calling the wrong thing. Okay, perfect.
No, in fact, it was hard for me. Julia Nicholson enrolled me, and it was, I always felt funny when she would say, well, this is Dr. J. And I'm like, not everybody has, she met me because I treated the Titans cheerleaders, and she was a Titans cheerleader. And so we've known each other since way back, I think 12, 13 years now. And she ended up always introducing me as Dr. J, and I was like, but they're not my patients. I don't have to be doctor. And I was just like, Jeanette. So she never knows what to call me, whether she should call me Jeanette or Dr. J. So I answered it just about
Dr. J, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, so Dr. J is a gold from Nashville. And I have really enjoyed getting to know her. I get to spend a little time with, actually, Jenny Keys is coming too, Dr. Jenny, to Vegas. But yeah, Dr. J, share with us, how you got involved with the oils and then why you decided to use them and then eventually implement them in your practice.
I was really looking at oils, and I had been curious about them. I had been using oils in my practice for quite some time, but it was very minimal. It was lavender and it was helichrysum, and that was pretty much the 2 oils I had, and they were not from doTERRA. I didn't understand the extent of what oils could do. I just thought, oh, musculoskeletal, because that's all I had learned so far. And so I pretty much used those two oils, and that was it. And years later, when I had my daughter, I started investigating more and more natural options and wanted to try and come up with some really good solutions. And I really wanted oils for my family first. And I was toying around with witch oils and looking at different companies, and I waited, and I say too long, because I had the opportunity to enroll several times and didn't, and had been to different classes. And finally, my daughter, when she was 16 months, ended up with a temperature of 105, and I had to medicate her and did not want to. And it devastated me to have to use chemicals with her. And so then I was like, man, why hadn't I gotten those oils? Why didn't I just do it? And the reason why I truly believe is because I needed to be on Julia's team, really. I feel like it was a God thing. And so Julia came to me and she gave me samples. And I remember sitting in my car after a practice. She brought me samples to the practice. She's like, you got to try these. And so I was already sold and already knew that I wanted oils, and was already leaning toward doTERRA. And then when I talked with her about it, I pretty much was like, yeah, this is it. This is the answer. This is what I need. But I told her I will not, absolutely 100% will not do the business. Don't, and what is the first thing she does? She gets me on a three-way call with Melody. And so we fast forward about 6 months, and I was referring people to her because I was like, I'm not doing the business, but my friend is. She's a holistic health coach. She can help you. And so I would refer people to her. And finally she said, it would be so much easier if you just have a class. Just have a class, bring everybody there, and I can teach everybody at once. So I joke around with her and tell her that she tricked me into becoming a builder by having me host a class, because at that first class I had 2 builders enroll and several people purchase kits, natural solutions kits, several home essentials kits, and it was just a very successful first class. And so it was like a no-brainer. Of course I'm going to go ahead and jump in and do it. So then I feel like it took me some time to get started as far as teaching. Like, I remember it took me, I don't even know how long it was, but it was forever. Like, somehow I very sneakily avoided teaching classes, and I would get her to do it, or I would co-teach, but it was a long time before I actually taught my own first class. I don't even know why. It just was kind of interesting that it happened that way. But now I teach classes on a regular basis. I introduce the oils. I pretty much introduce it to every patient who walks in my door, whether it's somebody I haven't seen since I started using the oils, because I have a lot of patients resurface. Like, even last week I had 2 patients who hadn't been to my practice in over 10 years. And it's, I don't know, kind of random, but I do see a lot of reactivations. I've been in practice for 22 years here in Nashville, and I feel like with all the history, like, every patient that walks in, I basically let them know, look, I want to help you feel the best that you possibly can. And the way that I do is I do that through educating. I do that through making sure you know how to sit properly. How do you make sure the wallet's not in the back pocket, make sure you're not crossing your legs, make sure you've got proper sleeping habits, all of those different things. And I want to also educate you about nutritional supplements and essential oils. So you let me know what your interest is and where I can help you. And I pretty much open the door so that they know the first day they come in that if they have oil questions, they should come to me. So I've gotten in a pretty good habit of that, and that works for me. That I don't feel like I'm selling. I just basically invite them to learn more. I let them know I teach classes. The classes are free. They can come and learn. And I feel like that's been a huge part of the people I enroll are patients. It's probably 90% of what I've done as patients.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So you were introduced because Julia was coming to you because she was a cheerleader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, you should try these oils.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I've heard that several times that you say, you know what, get the doctor using the oils first before they're going to be interested in introducing them to their patients. And I truly think that applies to anybody in the business, not just working with chiropractors. Is, when somebody, people are always trying to sell you on things, right? And if it's like, if I believe in it, I just can't help but tell everybody, because that's just how I am. So I think it's the same thing with chiropractors, is just, use the oils. And I love that Julia helped you to get involved with that. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move. Sorry, I muted myself and not Dr. J. I'm just special sometimes. Okay, so we're going to move to Dr. Martha Nestler, and she lives in New Zealand, and she is a Blue Diamond in doTERRA and has been very successful with the business and has a huge team. And I will tell you that most months, if I see these big rank advancements on my team, I know that probably like 9 out of 10 times it's going to be on Dr. Martha's team. And a lot of them are other chiropractors. So, all right, Dr. Martha, you are unmuted.
Hi. Okay, so yes, I'm a chiropractor from the United States who fell in love with a chiropractor, moved to New Zealand, and started doTERRA. I am a New Zealand founder as well as a New Zealand Blue Diamond. I guess I'm a global Blue Diamond, but I claim my inner Kiwi on this one. So kind of my story, which Jenny, I was actually the first chiropractor on Melody's team. So since she tried to take that from me, I'm just going to go ahead. I qualified her for silver. Okay, folks, so I've been around a long time. So we'll tell you all the stories about Melody and everybody later, but now we'll stick with this. I met Melody at a chiropractic convention. She was there. My best friend was really good friends with her brother, and we were at dinner, and she took off my shoes, rubbed my feet, lifted up my shirt, rubbed oils on my body, and told me that I needed essential oils for like my thyroid. She put cinnamon on my lips so I would look sexy going out, and it was like the most bizarre experience in the entire world. And for the Kiwis on this call, there are like 14 of you. I counted because that's how I roll. So I counted you guys. Cool. She gave me a little sample of Digestin because I was born with celiac, and I brought it home to my then partner from Tickawitty, who was like, "Oh my God, don't use it!" like as though it was methamphetamines being dished out in a small town. So, anyways, I decided to slowly, kind of start using them, and Melody kept after me, and I wasn't really going to do this. And so, a little background, because I can really tell you what chiropractors don't like. We'll do that later if you're going to ask, because I was a really popular chiropractor, I guess. I spoke on stages, so people would always ask me to rep their products. It was like, hey, if you're going to go on stage, could you mention Pellegrino? And if you sell 16,000, you'll be a millionaire, and I'll help you build your business. It'll be so awesome. Just sell as many Pellegrinos as possible. And I'd be like, no, right? And I was involved in Zuri for like a week. I had like 40 gallons of Zuri at my house and was never a millionaire. So I was just not going to roll hard with the multi-level thing. I found things hard. Jenny's laughing. I found things harder and harder to get in New Zealand. So I said to Melody, I want to get some oils. So Melody tried to actually downsell me. Melody tried to get me to buy like the home essentials and the natural solutions. And I was adamant on having the every oil kit and having everything. A little sidebar that you can actually screw things up massively in doTERRA and still be successful. Melody sold me my oils in the wrong currency. They got stuck in customs for 5 weeks. Her Jen and I didn't know even what customs was. And it was literally a complete shit show. But here we are today. So you guys can do it all wrong. And then Melody told me how to do it wrong. So I decided to start doing the business in my clinic because of the prices, and sold all of the oils and enrolled our patients with the wrong kits. They were about half the price. So I sold an every oil kit for $1,400, but it was $2,800. So that was kind of what happened when I started the business. I said I would never do it as a business, kind of like everybody else, really miss speaking. And so since I wasn't popular here, I decided to just speak in my clinic and teach essential oil classes. My first class, Melody gave me a PowerPoint. I got my oils out of customs that day. I had a few that she'd given me. and said, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So let's talk about lemon. And I read the slides. But it kind of became a beautiful journey, and I'm really grateful for Melody and all of our crazy experiences that we've had doing this. And I do have 2 qualifiers. I have a diamond qualifier and a gold qualifier that are chiropractors. And so I do get chiropractors. Do you need more than that, or is that?
I always talk and I'm muted. That's great. My husband wishes he could have that button for me as well, but only I can mute myself. Okay, so yes, I do have some more questions for you. I just wanted you to introduce yourself.
Okay.
So yes, I'm going to go to Dave.
Okay.
So you guys, Dave, I'm cheating because Dave's actually not a chiropractor, but he owns a chiropractic practice with his wife. And Dave is the primary builder between the two of them and is very involved. And the reason I invited him is that Dave is also a diamond. And I do think that a lot of their team initially probably came from Allie, Dr. Allie, his wife. And she's a very successful chiropractor in Connecticut. And that was one of the first classes that I did. And Dave will have to tell me, Dave, did I bring like my twin 6-month-old babies to your class?
You did. And I think you had a helper fly out with you as well. Is that right? And we
did.
had about 3 people in the class that I have no idea where they went.
Oh,
You flew all the way from Idaho to do that. Thank you for doing
it. It was
I
great.
never thanked you yet.
It was great. So I want to hear a little bit, because you are not a chiropractor, which is okay. I love people who are not chiropractors too. But I want to hear, because you're very much so involved with your wife's practice, right? You guys own a store as well with it, where they're now selling organic grass-fed. You sell lamb and beef and all sorts of great things, right? So anyway, I want to hear how you've integrated it into you have a store as well, and kind of how you guys have grown together where you're primarily doing the business, but your wife is the chiropractor.
Right. It's been a great journey so far. So we enrolled, I guess, 6 or 7 years ago now, when Melody sampled us. It always starts with Melody. And really, it was about a year or 2 before we became hooked on the products and wanted to actively build, I would say. And at that point, Melody and then you flew out to actually teach our first classes. We were really babes in the woods. But as far as it really taking hold in our office, it all comes back to the products. I don't think the stories are very different, for any of these chiropractors. They're busy, they're pitched from so many product companies to represent their products. The way that doTERRA breaks through is on the strength of the product, because we're sampled constantly. Not only are we a chiropractic office, but as a retail store, I've got literally hundreds of suppliers that are trying to sell through us, everything from food to drinks to supplements to CBD products to baked goods, you name it. So the sales thing, what made us want to work with doTERRA was the products. And quite honestly, we just started them as I think we were starting with cleaning products to clean our house naturally, and then from there we got some education through Melody and the resources at the time about therapeutic uses. Allie started sampling them with patients who would come in for chiropractic, but they would have a tummy ache, or they would get headaches, trouble sleeping, all that stuff. And we would sample them on the oils, and they would have great success. And then that's when it caught my interest. So while Allie's the doctor, my background is more corporate and on the business side. And when I joined with her to run the business so she could homeschool the boys, we noticed doTERRA growing and the retention rate so strong that we decided to keep it going and keep building. It's been a great experience so far. And, for us, building something with the residual income after I left corporate and the 401ks that were a benefit in that world, it added some extra security for us to be able to, to do what we want. So it's been great. But as the resident business guy on the panel, I mean, everyone on the panel is a business person, but I should say the resident non-chiropractor, I can't speak as well as the doctors here as far as how, how a doctor would choose to bring them into the clinic. I thought what I might add some value, hopefully, is from a sales perspective and from like a business owner perspective. Absolutely key for you is what's been said. You have to establish trust in a relationship. That's really hard. It can take a long time. It's difficult to sell into a successful chiropractic office, but obviously the payoff can be really everybody involved. I think the two most important things to keep in mind are the objections that you should be prepared for. And what any chiropractor or any practitioner of any type is going to be concerned about is, one, is this going to make me appear salesy and get in the way of my patient relationship? Okay. You have to be prepared to know how to talk about that. And secondly, is this going to cost me in terms of time, money, training, dealing with my staff doing it? Is it going to be a hassle to implement? This could be a whole nother call sometime, but there's very definite ways you can address how it could take the doctor very little to zero time implementing doTERRA him or herself, because they can do it through their staff, and we have systems to do that. And also that if it's done correctly, as others have said, there's no way at all it needs to interfere at all with the doctor-patient relationship. If you come to our store and doTERRA is a big part of what we do, you wouldn't know it. You don't feel like you've dropped into some direct sales funnel where you're going to be sold all this stuff. There's a little display of it in a corner. Other than that, you'd have no idea if you didn't see it. As far as implementing it in an office environment like that, it's transparent to the customer, and it would take as little time. Who's that in the back? Hi. It could take as little time from the doctor as possible, and we've done it that way. Hey, another point I wanted to make, it's kind of a side point, but it's interesting to bring to a doctor, is when you a big concern of doctors is their staff. And please stop. I'm on a phone call. Is when you have good employees, it's keeping them. Retention is such a key thing for a doctor. And we've found, and I've found with other doctors we work with, that doTERRA can be a great employee retention tool, because anyone who's working at your front desk, for the most, is early wage, 12 to 18 are probably pretty common where we live. And there's not a lot of upward mobility, because it's usually just the front desk staff and the chiropractor. Well, once you got the staff involved with doTERRA, which takes a lot of the implementation weight off of the doctor, you've created a new career path and income opportunity. And we've had people at our front desk who were earning more with doTERRA than we were able to pay them. So they were thrilled, and it has kept good employees from wanting to leave. So I would encourage, as you develop your relationship with your chiropractor, to have them understand that this is a way to really get your employees involved and have an upside in what they're doing at the clinic. I just wanted to make those couple of points, Jen. Is that good? Love the bunny ears.
He was showing you had 2 points that you could make. That is awesome. And that is a really great point about this is an upside potential, like your employees can do this as a business as well. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute all my docs. And then I want you guys I just have just a few questions. And then, all right, make sure I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you guys are all unmuted. Perfect. Awesome. That was so great. So one of the first questions that I have is a little bit similar to maybe what you've already answered. And I know that a couple have said, Dr. Jared, you said that you have them displayed and you wait for people to ask. Dr. J said that she brings it up, but how have you successfully, how do you bring it up to your patient? And then what are your favorite oils to get on them? Like, what do you recommend to them the most? And the reason I ask this is I think, a lot of people, will approach their chiropractor just with a sample. So what's a good sample to get them? What are you using that you love? And what you love is typically what you recommend, if that makes sense. So how do you integrate it like in an appointment? And then what are your favorite oils or products to get on everybody? And you guys, this is a free for all. I have just the 5 of you unmuted, and you're welcome to you're welcome to let me know if you feel like strongly like you want to answer it. That would be great.
Okay, I'll start with this one.
Okay.
So how we do it, I'm no longer with the chiropractor, but he still has a clinic and still uses them in this manner. So what we do is we keep on stock the basic oils. So the Home Essentials kit, along with like the mood management, maybe an aromatherapy kit, and a family wellness. So what we do is we really encourage people, and probably because this is the way we had to do it in New Zealand when I started it, but we really encourage people to get their own wholesale account. So we really encourage them to enroll at that time. So that way, if they want a Home Essentials, we've got a Home Essentials there and a coconut oil that we can send home with them, and then we ship their order to our house to refill our stock. So we don't sell retail. That was kind of a bonus that it used to be, well, it still is, unless you get a license to do it. It's still kind of illegal to sell retail, right? So it was awesome because that was the only way around it. We could not sell retail. So I, hands down, think that's the best way for chiropractors to do it, because otherwise a mom comes in, she needs like On Guard, Breathe, or what we call Easy Air in New Zealand, and maybe like peppermint because her kid's unwell, right? And she loses out on the benefits of the kit. But right then and there, you can explain the kit. So I do love that. The kit is my favorite way to get people started. And that was because when I had quite a large clinic in the United States. And when I sold my clinic, I had all the people come and say goodbye and write me notes. And I had this mom look at me, sheer in my face. I was probably the straightest chiropractor it was unbelievable. Like, I definitely was like, never do drugs, never do anything, or like, she looked at me and she said, Dr. Martha, I've been lying to you. Like, sometimes we wouldn't know what to do when we were home and our kids were coughing, and we would give them cough syrup and we didn't tell you. And I would be like, and it was just this sheer devastation in her face. Like, I could just tell. And she's like, one time I took a Tylenol, which is what we call Panadol in New Zealand. She's like, I took a Panadol because you couldn't adjust me on a Sunday night. I just had I had so much guilt, right? I was selling my practice, and then people are confessing that I'm like Cruella de Vil of chiropractic. And so for me, I am really big on moms, as we say in New Zealand, being empowered in their homes and people having these tools. So I'm a big advocate of, I love the family wellness kit, but for not even $100 more, you can triple the oils and get a diffuser. So I'm really big on the Home Essentials as a starter kit. And when I sample, I often sample things in the Home Essentials so that they've got that idea already in their head, because I believe that an empowered home has the Home Essentials kit. So and deep blue sachets, because everybody should have deep blue in their life. So that's kind of my jam.
So would you say you get deep blue on a lot of your patients then?
Yeah, we have a lot of people using the deep blue because they're going to use something for their muscles anyways. And a lot of it's so toxic. It's got petroleum, which is petrol, which is gasoline. So I'd rather them not rub gasoline over their bodies. And I find it's like kind of like your kids, like my grandpa, when I was like 15, gave me just a little bit of whiskey so I wouldn't go out and like look for alcohol and try to get it. And that was because he's an Irishman, how he introduced us to things. So I feel like if we introduce our patients to what the goodness is, they don't go out looking for the bad chemicals and other things and ask their crazy friends for advice. So yeah, I'm big on the deep blue.
That's awesome.
And I just want to say, deep blue does help with deep emotional pain. And I know all these other chiropractors will tell you so much pain is emotional. So getting that deep blue in their hands is hands down awesome.
No pun intended.
That's awesome. Okay, anybody else want to answer that of have you successfully integrated into your practice? And then what are your favorite oils to get on your patients? Anyone else?
I can answer because I utilize them a lot, like a lot. We have only doTERRA products to clean our office, only in our office. And we market doTERRA every second we can get. When we have a slideshow, and this is both of our offices, my tiny baby one that I just started and my husband's, which is more rocking and rolling because we have two separate places and we do the same thing, slightly different, but same thing. And so we have a PowerPoint constantly going over both of our flat screens, and it has chiropractic related stuff, right, to educate people, but it also has a ton of essential oil education. When we're doing our office tour, we have essential oils. I have every tester up front. Of course, I'm a little balls to the wall, so most people probably don't have this much, but I have every essential oil as a tester. and everything up front in the waiting room for people to try while they're waiting. And as we do our office tour, as many chiropractors do when they have a new patient, we talk about how, like, in our office, we are toxin free. This is what we use. We use essential oil-based products, la da da. They get a free deep blue sample on their way out after they've been a new patient, because we adjust on the first day often in our office. And so we say, you might be a little sore, la da da. We go through the whole chiropractic spiel, and then we give them some deep blue as well. I have a class sign-up sheet up front because I do classes in the office, which I teach. And we have a relatively small but big office, so we only have 2 staff members. We have an exercise therapist and a front desk, and they are trained exactly how to answer questions on how to purchase oils. We just say 3 ways. You can purchase them 3 ways. You can get them from retail in the office. You can go online to this website. We provide them. I actually have it right here. I created my own little handout with my own little price sheet, so we can hand this out to them. You can go to this website at the bottom. If you'd like to just order online, shipping's really cheap down here because it's only $3.99 to the Virgin Islands, by the way. That's really awesome shipping for us. And or you can set up a wholesale customer account. It's just like a PriceSmart account, Costco, I guess, stateside Costco. And, that's it. And most people want to do wholesale because guess what? I jack my prices up by 100%. The moms aren't coming in and ordering. They aren't. It's like $46 for a bottle of lavender. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I make it very unappealing. But I do have every oil for sale, every oil and every blend, and you're more than welcome to. I'm like, you're more than welcome, but I'm busy, man. I don't have time to be stocking stuff. Like, you're going to pay for it if I'm going to take the time to be stocking retail. So that's what I do. And people don't want to do it, right? Because I literally, and I'll share this with any chiropractor here if you want to copy it, whatever. But I literally have like Arbor Vitae, $44 in office retail, $29.33 online retail, or $22 with your wholesale account. So they just take one peek at it and they're like, sold. So there's no selling. So my staff doesn't take time having to convince them. Awesome. And we just say, just get a wholesale account. It's just easier. So we make people do breathe bombs.
What's your favorite oil to get on your patients?
Breathe, hands down, breathe. They love it. We do breathe bombs, this thing where you suck through the hand. They're all like, oh my God, they love it. That's the number one. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Anyone else want to answer the question? All right. So the next thing I want to move on to is, okay, a lot of people are very interested in approaching a chiropractor that maybe they don't know. So what is your biggest piece of advice? Because we've talked about get the oils on them. Well, if you're going to call on a chiropractor, stop by their office, how do you recommend forming a relationship with them to get them to try the oils? And then the opposite of that is, what should they not do? So like, what's the best way to approach a chiropractor blindly? Like if you're not a chiropractor, you want them to try oils. And then I want to hear what you don't do. So what to do and then what not to do. That makes sense.
Sure. I can answer this one.
Okay.
One of the first things that I would start off with doing is research, like you would do for any job interview, anything like that. You're going to want to find out about that chiropractor. You're going to want to find out about their habits. You're going to want to find out about their family. How many kids do they have? Where do they go to church? Maybe, what do they do? And where are they at? What circle of friends are they around? What podcasts do they listen to? What books do they, whatever it is. You want to gain as much information about that person as you possibly can, as with anything, right? So if I'm ever going to walk into something as far as with a corporate wellness, and we're going to pitch 220 employees on, their wellness, you better believe I know everything about that company before I step in there. I'm going to be able to answer any question they throw at me. I'm going to be able to throw, anything back at them on how we're going to combat that. So you have to be ready for, anything that chiropractor is going to ask you. So whether it's how is this going to serve me, right? Or how is it going to serve my patients? Or how is it going to serve our community? Again, you go back to what Melody talks about, and it's all about culture building in our office. And I think any one of these chiropractors on here, it's all about culture building. And what are you going to build as far as that culture? What is your tribe? And what are they going to want to do? And what do you want to see as far as their vision, their mission for them, and be the leader for them? Most of your patients are going to follow whatever it is that you're doing. So if you're eating a certain way, if you're using a certain oil, if you're doing whatever it is, your patients want to be like you. And so I would tell that person, whoever's going to approach a chiropractor, you want to know everything about that person before you even talk to them, before you pick up the phone, before you bump into them in the public, whatever it is, you're going to want to figure out everything about that person. And after you figure it out about that person, you want to have an honest, open conversation about their practice, about their life. And maybe it's not even surrounded around doTERRA or essential oils. It's about them, right? And so again, you're asking questions, you're kind of probing, you're prying, you're basically finding out where are their needs, and ultimately how are you going to fill those needs, or how are you going to fill those with solutions to their problems. And so if you can't fill the need or fill a void in their life, they're not going to stick with you. They're not going to do anything. They're buying into it. It's just like a patient walking into our office. If we can't fill their need, and if we don't ongoing fill their need, if their needs aren't met, or if expectations are not met, that patient is out the door. And so the biggest reason for any type of failure in relationships is expectations are not met. And so we were very clear about our expectations that we set with people or with the partners that we have. And so making sure that not only that you know about the doctor, you know about his practice, find out what their needs are, and don't drop the ball on expectations. As far as if you set any expectations when you walk in with them, do not drop any balls with expectations. If you promise something, you better deliver on it. And otherwise, it's just, they're going to pass you by and they're going to go, to the next person. Or, again, we're busy. We don't want our time wasted. We don't want to waste people's time. And so I think that's the biggest thing is research, find out as much as you can about that person. What are their needs? And then ultimately speak into their family first before you start speaking into the rest of the family. It's kind of like if a mom comes in as a chiropractic patient, we talk about mom's needs. We don't talk about all of her kids' needs and everybody else's needs. It's like you meet the need of that individual person right in front of you right away. And that's the first thing you can do is focus on that first individual person. So focus on that doctor's needs. I think Melody mentioned it right away. It's like, you trying to figure out like what else health concern does that doctor have? Do they play sports? Do they need Deep Blue? Whatever it is. What is their need personally themselves? Get them that experience with it, and ultimately let them run with it, because they're gonna see the benefits of it right away. And once they do, they're gonna fall in love with it. They're gonna be like, nothing else does this for me. And then they're gonna start doing it with their family. And that's kind of what we did is, I bought into it, and then we started it into my family. And now in the office, I don't even run the essential oils in my office. My wife does. So Angie runs completely the essential oils, and that helps separate me as a doctor, so I can focus on the chiropractic and the nervous system, and she focuses on the essential oils, so it doesn't look like that's where my focus is. And so 100% of the time, if a patient comes in, they ask about essential oils, it's like I'll maybe say one or two things as far as research, and then I pass it on to my wife Angie, and she kind of handles everything along those pathways as far as with the essential oils in our office, and she runs with it, and she does amazing. She has more compassion. She feels more. She has more empathy than I do. I just throw it how it is. And so she's more caring and more everything about, people's concerns and just compassion behind it, where I'm just like the driver, the business guy, and like, let's roll. Let's just go. And so, things to not do would obviously just push the oil on people. Like, hey, this thing's going to be awesome. We're going to sell. You're going to make $1 million, and you're walking up to a chiropractor, and this is what you're going to do. You need to push this. You need to sell this because this is what this person's doing, or this is what this chiropractor's doing. It's like that. I don't think that's going to work the best way. It's, again, you want to make sure that you're filling that chiropractor's needs or that individual needs before you even move on to anything else or any other conversation.
Perfect. Dr. Martha, I think you... All right, let me unmute you. There you go.
I had to mute myself. Everything was yeah. So first, I did love what you said about getting to know the chiropractor, because chiropractors were all very unique. We all do things differently. And it's really important that you get that when you walk into a clinic, because without going into like all the types of chiropractic, which is like Baskin-Robbins, 31 you can walk in, and if you don't know what chiropractor you're talking to, you can say completely the wrong thing and shut them down, and they will never literally talk to you again. So I used to coach chiropractors, loved chiropractic, used to go to chiropractic conferences. So talking to chiropractors and loving them is my jam. So I love this topic, Jen, because I think the first thing is everybody kind of gets this grandiose idea that once I sign up a chiropractor, this is like my ticket to Diamond. I just want to publicly say we are a lot to take on. We're like getting a new girlfriend that's got like 6 kids with 4 different men. We're a handful, guys. We're a total handful, and no one's going to deny that on this call. We've got charts. We do so much. We overpromise and then we overdeliver. So we're like some kind of superhuman species that doesn't sleep, drinks green tea, and detoxes. And when you take us on, like you're taking on a project. Like chiropractors literally don't have another thing to do, another minute to do anything. And when they form this relationship with you, they've got this expectation of a business relationship. They've got this expectation that you're going to hold their hand, walk with them, and kind of lead their people and lead them. And then once they get the systems in place, so we're talking teaching them how to put it into their calendar, teaching them presentation skills, teaching them the systems, teaching their staff the systems, really implementing the processes of ordering, restocking, and all of that, because they don't actually have time to learn another business. They've got a business. And am I on track? Chiropractors, not to speak for all of us, but yeah. So when you decide you want to work with a chiropractor, Jared's 100% right. You find out about them and who they are, but don't just think that this is your ticket to the golden gates and that you're suddenly have all these patients, because we honor our patients. It's a sacred bond in the States. We take a Hippocratic oath to honor and to serve them and to love them. And we are serious about this, folks. This is a thing. We go to serious conferences and we learn how to do this amazingly. So when you take on a chiropractor, you're basically need to realize that this is a system that needs to be built on, because a chiropractor will not build this business if they don't have the support from you and the tools necessary to build this business. It's the same way I feel with enrolling in different countries. You know, when you're going to enroll someone in a foreign country, you've got to be willing to fly to that country. And, you know, Melody held my hand through opening up New Zealand, which like day and night, talking till 3 a.m. You've got to kind of have that anytime you enter into a business relationship. And that's not just chiropractors. This would be osteopaths, massage therapists. But that's one of the ones I just really wanted to drive home. But just enrolling them and expecting them to allow you into their practice is not something that I would ever, that's kind of where people get very confused. Does that make sense? They think that like you're just going to let them in there to present. But, you know, like say, let me run a couple classes in your clinic. I'd love to show you what we're going to talk about in the clinic. And I want to make sure it fits with how your clinic is run and that it makes sense to your patients and to you. Because this is a doctor, they're their own brand, right? Each doctor. And then saying, how many classes do you think it would take for me to do until you're ready? Or maybe, do you have a staff member I could begin working with and grooming to kind of assume this position? Because then it also matters, you guys, where you place the doctor, where you place the staff, and how you begin to place the patients. And the other thing I'll say for the states is understanding each state's rules as well. Like you got to really understand the different laws of chiropractic within the states and what chiropractors are and aren't allowed to do within multi-level marketing. But, you know, I think just really not assuming that this is like Pandora's box to, you know, all the amazing jewels, right? That you're actually building a relationship with someone who, chiropractors are some of the greatest people in the world. Most of my dearest friends are chiropractors. And if you nurture them, love them, and show them how to do this, they will bring you people who need these oils and will use these oils. But you've got to kind of get over all the hurdles and not just expect to like jump in the deep end. So I'm quite passionate about this, if you can't tell, because I see it happen quite a bit. And I've got friends who are signed up with people and they don't have any help and they want to do it. They don't even know what they're doing. They've never opened their box of oils. You know, they bought in every oil kit and it just sits there. And it makes me quite sad because I think of like the moms who are still using cough syrup instead of diffusing easy air. And for me, that's something that like I'm quite passionate about. So.
No, I agree. And I'm not a chiropractor, obviously, but I will say this, that, you know, anytime that you're wanting to do the business, you need to work with influencers if you want to be successful with this, whether it's a chiropractor, massage therapist, the neighbor lady that you're like, that is a mover and shaker. But taking time to nurture and develop that relationship is so key, but it's worth it. It's like motherhood, freaking hardest thing I've ever done, but like so worth it, you know, like it's not just this easy thing that's just going to come. So I would definitely say that it can be worth it. Absolutely, it's worth it to work with chiropractors. It's just not, like Dr. Martha said, don't expect it to be a get-rich-quick thing. And truthfully, don't expect doTERRA to be a get-rich-quick thing. It is a lasting, amazing thing. And I've taught a lot of classes, a lot of really great chiropractic offices, and I have enjoyed it so much, but it's because that groundwork has been laid and those friendships and that trust is there, for sure. Awesome. Does anybody else have anything to answer with ways to... Let me look at my question again so I don't say the wrong thing. ways to approach them versus ways not to approach them. Does anyone else have anything else?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
I feel like it's really important to address the CA, because if you talk to the assistant, then a lot of times, like for me, nobody gets past my CA. If somebody was like cold calling my office, or even patients who want to present something, they're not getting past my CA. I am booked so solid that, and I have a very different type of chiropractic practice. I spend about 15 to 20 minutes with every patient. I stay on schedule, and I'm very disciplined with, which is one of my top 5 strengths. I stay very on track, and I have very little time for breaks, for lunch, and I would rather have short breaks, short lunch, and get home to my family than have this big long gap in the middle of my day. And I worked in a lot of chiropractic offices when I was in school, and in that year after, I took a year to take all my boards across the country so that I would not have to ever take another board exam again. And in that time, I did work in a lot of different offices, and I just really felt like it was, I feel like it's so important to have that quality family time, that I'm going to get to work, I'm going to do a great job while I'm there, and I'm going to minimize my time I'm spending. So I don't want to spend any time talking to anybody and figuring out what it is they're selling. I want my assistant to get that information. So I would say that people should be prepared for that, to talk to the chiropractic assistant, to get to that person. What are her pain points? What is it that she needs as well? I have a female assistant, so I'm saying she, anyway, but I think that that's one thing that needs to be thought of, is just, it might be the CA, you may not get to the doctor. Somebody has to know me personally to be able to get my time away from my family. So I'm pretty tight with that. So yeah, I guess as far as the don'ts is, don't expect cold calling to work, because like Dr. Jared said, getting to know the people you're dealing with is so important. So I just feel like you've got to make that relationship. You've got to get that connection. And a great way to do it, I recommend to all the people who ask me, is try and get a diffuser in their office. See if you can loan them a diffuser for a couple weeks. If they have a diffuser for a week, 10 days, most likely they're not going to want to give it back. So I feel like once they get the diffuser, and then, and educate, give the samples to the CA, not just the doctor. Make sure you're getting those oils to the assistant, whoever's in there, massage therapist, you name it. If you sample the people who are there, you're going to have much greater success getting to the doctor.
That's great advice. So now if somebody is wanting to approach chiropractors that maybe they don't know, do you like the idea of doing like a diffuser drop-off program where they would get the CA a diffuser and some oils and say, Jay, I just want to know what you think of these?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think they'd have better success that way than anything I can think of.
Okay. That's awesome.
Can I just add to that, Jen? So sometimes I will call an office beforehand, because sometimes they don't allow solicitors, and sometimes I don't like to stop by when they're during their patient hours. So I like to call ahead, and if it's the staff I'm talking to, if I am cold calling, I brand myself immediately. Hey, I'm an essential oils expert. I help practices implement essential oils. Could I bring by some samples and a diffuser for you guys to try if you're not yet using essential oils? And that's one way to do it, right? And then also, I just want to speak to getting past the doctor, because I agree. Like, I actually have a hard time sometimes getting past CAs, because they're not necessarily the decision makers, and they're trained, because they get solicitor calls all the time. They're trained to get off the phone with you as quickly as they can. I mean, I was a CA for 10 years, so I'm doing everything I can to not get you on the phone with my doctor. Does that make sense? So I do like to, Tracy's like, yeah. So I do like to try to contact the doctor directly. A lot of them you can direct contact on LinkedIn. And oftentimes they have contact via email on their websites. So those are 2 ways that you can get directly in contact with a doctor, and just offer them some samples and brand yourself. Hey, I work with chiropractors. I teach them how to use essential oils with their families or their practice, whichever they prefer. I'd love to send you a gift package if you're not working with somebody already, or if you don't have oils yet. I get a really good response that way. I will tell you this. I contact a lot of doctors. So I think sometimes people think I'm going to contact 3 doctors, and if they all say no, I guess I suck at this, right? I will contact hundreds of chiropractors. Like, I don't just try 3. I don't just call 3 offices. Okay. So I want you guys to know, if you take this seriously, you're taking it seriously as a business, then you do it like a business. You go out recruiting. So sometimes if I'm going on vacation to an area, I'll spend 2 extra days there recruiting, and I'll call ahead. Hey, I'm going to be in your area. Can I stop by? Can we do dinner? Can we do lunch? Sometimes I've already built the relationship, and I'm going to be in town, and I want to then, I enrolled 2 chiropractors last month with that. I built a relationship with them, and then I sent them packages, and then, hey, I'm going to be in town. Can we meet? And they did. They met with me, and they enrolled, and they're both building. And this was just last month. So I think doing that relationship building, but I just want to speak to one more thing as well. You can see how differently each of these chiropractors do it, right? And the reason they do it is because they do it authentically with who they are. So like Jenny Keys is like, I've got every oil in the office. I am very unapologetic about the fact that I do oils here. It's part of who I am. It's what I do, right? She is not ashamed that she's got oils everywhere, right? Whereas some people, that might not be their brand, and they've got it in the corner. That's okay. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't mean they're ashamed or apologetic about it. It just means that they have a different way of doing it. And so you'll see that once a chiropractor loves a product, like Dr. Martha said, they're on fire about spreading the message of health and wellness, that belief, that passion, right? And so it's important to see that everybody does it different. And so being able to give them their wings and meet their needs in the business, not just with the oils, but in the business, what's the best way for you to implement, and understanding and having strategies behind that. And the third thing I'll just say is just a caution with having CAs help you in the office. I 100% think it's valuable to have CAs put people to classes and things like that. I haven't seen very often that a CA turns out to be a good business partner. And I'm just speaking from experience. I have found that if you want somebody to be a good business partner, it's like hiring an associate or a business partner, not hiring an $8 an hour or $12 an hour CA. Oftentimes, they're not entrepreneurs. Oftentimes, they want to clock in and clock out. Some are purpose-driven, and some are super excited. And I have actually seen CAs really take off. So I used to be a CA. So I'm an example of somebody who's a CA, right? So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but make sure when you do choose a CA that they are purpose-driven, that they have the caliber to be a business partner, okay? And that you're having somebody run the essential oil department in your office, and right? It's not you doing everything. So you have a potential business partner that you bring in to run the oils department, or that your CA is business partner material. And I have seen business partner material CA before, but more often than not, you need to go recruit a business partner to run the oils department. Like, for example, Jared has his wife doing it, right? So that's somebody that's an equal business partner that's like, yeah, let's do this, right? So then their job is then to recruit a partner, a business partner caliber type of person. Sometimes it's that office manager, but sometimes it's not. So just make sure you don't assume just because they're my CA, I'm going to tell them what to do. They want to do this. It's got to be somebody that really wants this for themselves, for them to be a great business partner.
I will no longer, from our last office I was in, which wasn't my own, but we had 11 employees and about 8 of them were doing the business. It was a lot. It was a lot to handle. I think it was Melanie and I's first office where we had so many people doing the business at one time, and they all started so quickly. And I learned my lesson that way, that I will not let anyone enroll my patients in my office unless they are getting a certain quota outside of the office on their own, because they got really used to how easy it was, because it can be very, once you get in the doors and you are a chiropractor and doing it because you have that trust with your patients. I don't want to say it's easy, but it can be kind of easier to enroll your patients because they trust you, love you. They know that you're not going to sell them something that's icky, right? And so, yeah, had a little problem with maybe not having people experience the true business because they were so used to people being right in front of them, so ready to buy. Because I had pumped everyone up, all my patients, didn't have time to enroll them, sent them to my staff, and then they were enrolled with them. And then, well, hurricanes happen, but other things happen too. So I would recommend that that you do really have a chat with, if you are having someone take it over in the office or suggesting your chiropractor that you're potentially going to enroll, that you're really vetting that person as a true business partner. And even if they are vetted as a true business partner through a call and everything, and they seem great, you still have a stipulation where they have to enroll a certain amount of people and do a certain amount of activity outside of the office. I'll never make that mistake ever again.
And I do that in my own business. It's like, look, I'll put someone on your team, but you've got to get in this month too. So I do want to wrap up the panel just so that we're not here all night, although we could stay on. This would be great. Melody, I do have one last question for you before, if you want to talk about your 3 things. What do you do in your welcome packet when you're cold calling? I'm going to be in your area. I'd like to send you some information. What is it that you are giving them?
So I send them shampoo, conditioner, I send them toothpaste, I send them cough drops, I send them generally like a lemon, copaiba, deep blue, and maybe a little frankincense. Sample. And then they get a welcome letter, and they get a tear sheet. They get my chiropractic and essential oils brochure that I wrote with Dr. Martha Nessler. They get that, and or you can get that on Aroma Tools. And that's what I send them. I send them that, and then they get like maybe an A to Z guide and just a welcome letter that's like, hey, I'm so excited you're going to try this package. Okay, what was your other question? How I implement into practice. So basically, it's really simple. You follow the invite, present, enroll. So you share with your patients, the ones that need it. Basically, rather than during the chiropractic adjustment and during the flow, you don't want to sit there and spend 20 minutes educating somebody on essential oils. They don't have time for that, right? So it's just like, hey, you know what? I see that you're dealing with this sinus pressure. I have a class coming up. If you want to sign up for it, it's a free class, but people who sign up for it get a free sample. Otherwise, they're $2, or you can buy some retail, but I think you'd really benefit from Breathe Essential Oil. And so it's just a really quick share, right? It's a share invite. And so they get invited to a class. And then from there, of course, the class happens. The second thing you have to do is you want somebody, and I do think that it's important for the chiropractor to understand how to do lifestyle overviews, but because they can take 30 to 45 minutes, chiropractors don't often have time to do, 10 lifestyle reviews a week. So I think it's important that the chiropractor learns how to do it, but that they soon bring on a business partner to manage the patients that get enrolled, so that those patients are getting lifestyle reviews. So the sooner they can bring on a business partner to run the essential oils department in their clinic, the better. But it's also good for them to do a couple lifestyle reviews on their own, which I call, the report of findings. So chiropractors do a new patient exam, and then they always do a report of findings. So the class is kind of like, this is the introduction to essential oils. And now that you've got your oils, we're going to show you exactly how to use them. So those are the 2-step processes: is have that chiropractor have a partner that does the lifestyle reviews, right? And then the third thing is, if they want to build this business, I do not sugarcoat it. I'm like, listen, you'll make pretty good money if you just stick with your patients, and you might make $500 to $1,000 a month if you do this. But if you go enroll 2 more business partners, that's where you'll make really good money. So it's just up to you if you want to make this kind of money, or if you want to make, closer to $10,000 a month or more. It's totally up to you, but you'll want to recruit 2 other business partners because you need 3 legs to make really good money in doTERRA. So I always suggest that you have an office leg, and that you have 2 other business partners that you enroll. And what's great about chiropractors is they always have 1 or 2 really close friends that would do anything with them as chiropractors, that they have that relationship and that rapport. So it's not hard, because they're influential, for them to recruit a couple business partners or influencers. So I always suggest start with 1 leg in your office, get it going, get a really good idea of your system, and then go out and recruit 2 other partners so that you can really start to make that residual income.
That is awesome. Melody, you're amazing. And I appreciate all 5 of the chiropractors and Dave for being on tonight and sharing with us. And I will say this is a very worthwhile business. And I love what Melody says, that she doesn't sugarcoat it. This isn't going to be easy. This isn't going to be get rich quick, but this is a very worthwhile residual income for sure. It is so worth it. And working with a chiropractor is very worth it. I have seen my teams that will bring on a chiropractor and help work with them. And they are so they can be so amazingly successful with this business. So I think it's a very worthwhile thing to do, is work with chiropractors for sure. I think you guys have probably all learned some really great tips tonight. So Melody, do you think it's worth it working with chiropractors? Do you love it? You still do it.
They're my favorite to work with, because they're the most like-minded. They're mission-oriented. They're They're no crap, you know, they're like straightforward. Like, it's like what Dr. Martha said. It's just like, you want to work with them, they're the world changers. And so that's who I choose to work with, because I feel like that's my tribe and that's my vibe. And some people aren't gonna, it's like when she talked about her patient that was like, Dr. Martha, we used cough syrup, you know, it's like when we, and what Dr. J said about, you know, having to use Tylenol on her baby or whatever she had to use, like we actually feel like failures when we use medicine. like, so it's different than the average person. The average person is like, yeah, little plant-based medicine, mainstream medicine, I'm totally cool with both sides, right? But as chiropractors and people like me, like who we birth our babies at home, and like we actually, a little part of us feels like a failure if we use meds, even though that's not super rational, right? There's a time and a place for medication, right? And thank goodness for emergency care and everything. But like those of us that are that passionate and that want to go change the world and actually have like that deep emotional connection to natural medicine and changing the world, like we love to work together. And so if you want to attract a chiropractor, that's who you need to become. And if you're not that, then you might have a harder time. Now there are chiropractors that are like Dr. Martha said, there's 31 flavors. There are other chiropractors that are more medically minded, and maybe you can vibe with them. The ones I vibe with are the ones that are like die hard, hardcore, because that's how I am. So just keep in mind, like you will vibe with your tribe. And so the people you attract into your organization might not be the people that I attract. You're going to recruit people that I cannot recruit into this business. And I will recruit people that you can't recruit into this business because of who you are, right? Because of who you are and who you attract. So I can't reiterate more of using your top 5 strengths and knowing who you are when you go out to recruit is the number one thing that will bring influence into your business, influencers.
So if you're wondering what Melody's referring to, doTERRA has on their website has a Gallup Strength Finder test that you can take to find out what your top 5 strengths are, because all of us have different strengths, and some of us, you know, my number 1 is communication, and then woo, I want people to like me. And then if they don't like me, my 3rd strength is resolve, because I'm going to figure it out so they will like me. I don't like any conflict in my life. It stresses me out. But you can find out how to make those things work for you in your business. But thank you so much, Clifton, not Gallup. Is it Clifton? I can't remember what it is. It's the Strengths Finder, whatever, on doTERRA, under resources, under trainings, under resources. So go to doTERRA.com. You'll see resources. Used to be advocates, but now it's resources. And then under training, you will see it on there. And it's a great way to just learn more about yourself, for sure. So thank you so much for being on. I feel so honored that I could put together a panel and get such amazing like experts on here, like all over the world. So that was amazing. So thank you so much for being on. And now I feel a little more motivated to go contact my chiropractor now. So I'm going to learn about him first though, Dr. Jared. PFS before I go into their office. So thank you so much for being on. This will be available for recording for your teams only. Yes. And this does work for other professions outside of chiropractic as well. I think you learned some really great principles. So thank you so much.